Hi all, welcome to my channel, The Sourful Midwest. My name is Jess and I'm a knitter from the Midwest. It is the beginning of April and I have not made any videos in a couple of months. So I'm here today to share some of the knitting and spinning progress I've made. Grab yourself a beverage. It is my day off, so in true day off fashion, I'm drinking an NA beer. Let's dive in. Jess edits here. I forgot to mention that I am wearing my Tumble Tee. This is a pattern by Lydia Morrow that I knit up in Fiberco Amble, which is their sock base. I knit this up approximately 3 years ago, and it's a great raglan t-shirt pattern. So the first finished objects I wanted to share are my two finished Alaska hats. I had actually bought this pattern last year and had completed one, but I did give it away. So I made two for myself. I knit this out of Manos del Uruguay's Ideal. It is a worsted weight Polwarth yarn. This is a 2x2 ribbed hat, and you start out at the crown and then continue to knit down to your finished length. With one skein of Ideal, I'm able to make a hat that I can fold over twice, and it doesn't leave too much space at the crown. This is knit up in the colorway Zinnia, and then this one is knit up in the colorway Leo. This is the more recent one that I finished, and I love that it like fits close to my head. It's nice and thick and cozy and gives kind of like a sailor man, watchman kind of vibe. So yeah, I'm very pleased with these. It is like my go-to hat, and I've made them as gifts for other people as well. The next object I want to share is my Baguette Jacket. This pattern is by Sumin Kim. It is an Aran weight pattern. To knit this, I used Malabrigo Chunky. This is 100% superfine merino wool. I used the colorway Dark Earth. I did not hold this with a strand of mohair like the pattern called for. This garment is the longest I have spent knitting on any garment. It took me approximately 3 months to knit. This included me ripping it back twice. Fortunately, I was only on the back panel when I had to rip it out, but it did obviously add more time to the knitting process. As you could see, it is an all over cable design. The reason I chose to knit this was specifically for these braided cables right here that are featured throughout the pattern on the sleeves and back as well. But obviously, this being intricate and all over cabled is what kind of made it a labor of love. The details on this cardigan really make it, or I guess jacket, since it is knit at a denser gauge. While in addition to learning how to do some more intricate cabling, I did also learn a new technique called the Rook bind off, which I think looks really nice on this. And I actually adapted it to use, that's what I bound off my two newest Alaska hats with, just because I was excited to learn something new. My overall experience knitting this jacket was good, although it did kind of turn into a slog once I moved on to the lower part of the body and the sleeves. One thing that I really had to pay attention to was the charts, which was kind of difficult for me in that I couldn't necessarily find a rhythm. I did have to specifically look at the charts every single row, which obviously added more time to the process. One other thing that I did learn was to take care and verify that my buttons would work with the pattern. So this calls for a 2-stitch buttonhole, and I intended on having larger buttons on this garment, but since they did not work, I specifically purchased a new set. These are from Holland Hoof Farms, and they are either 1/2 inch or 5/8 of an inch. They're these cute mint and color speckled buttons. So they're not the original buttons I intended to use, but I had to go with something that fit the jacket. I do like the librarian collegiate look of this jacket, and that kind of ties into my life update. I have decided to start going back to school. I'm doing classes through Arizona State University online. I have the privilege to go to school debt-free, which really aligns with what I want in my life, and to not carry debt, and also to do things that are authentic to myself. So I've made this transition, and I had intended to be knitting and spinning a lot less because of this. However, I found that I'm able to manage my full-time job, my course load, and still find time to knit and spin. So I feel like I'm kind of living my best life right now. And next, I will transition into the yarn that I've spun. So I had purchased 500 grams of comb top. The sheep is Hebridean. I honestly did no research on this before I purchased it. I just saw that it was a naturally black wool, and that was just kind of the look I was going for. I'm finding it to be not as enjoyable as spinning Corriedale. I do have just under 250 grams left. So I've spun up about a little more than half of it now. And I have one skein caked up. This is a 2-ply. I currently have these 2 skeins that I have not washed yet. And singles. I'm currently doing this all on a drop spindle. My intent with this yarn is to make Andrea Mowry's Traveler Shawl. I had knit this pattern about 2 years ago, and I really enjoyed the process. I have swatched for this. I did not like this yarn knit up in a stockinette swatch, so I opted for something a little more like squishy. This yarn realistically, I don't think I'm going to ever be able to wear something made out of it. It is very dry, um, rustic, and also like prickly. So I just don't see myself wearing anything that I make out of this. This is more for the process of spinning the yarn and then taking that yarn and turning it into a finished object. Alternatively, I'm thinking of, when it's finished, gifting it to my mom. So she can't say that I never knit her anything. In the future, I'm thinking I would like to spin either Polwarth or Merino, because I know like those yarns that I've used commercially at least have been very soft and I can tolerate them. And for my next knitting plans, I plan on knitting the Alder Sweater by Rebecca Clow. This pattern was on my Make 9 for this year. And I would like to use Sonder Yarn Co., their Sunday morning DK base. I just need to actually order the yarn and pay for the yarn. It is a little more on the pricey side, but it is the recommended yarn. And I looked at their colorways and I'm thinking of using like a chocolatey brown, and then the contrast being either like a yellowy green similar to this, or like more of a mustardy yellow. So something, I have a very specific color palette, and I think that it would make a garment that I could see myself continuing to wear. While looking at the projects for the Alder Sweater, I haven't seen anybody do a short sleeve version, and I'm just imagining this sweater having sleeves that are roughly the length of my Tumble Tee here. This is the only garment that I currently have with sleeves that hit like mid bicep on me. My other version of this has like a shorter cap sleeve, which is what I prefer, but I'm not sure how a shorter cap sleeve would look with the all over color and texture of that sweater. So I was thinking maybe this length would be striking. Yeah, those are my current plans. As I'm going through the semester and start my other projects, I will continue to keep you guys posted. I appreciate you all spending your time with me this afternoon. Here's to coming into spring. We can start to shed our layers. I hope you are able to craft or make something you enjoy. What we make with our hands is an extension from our heart. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.